How did this stamp influence me to start collecting Jordanian postage stamps? Stick around because in this video I'll explain why, as well as share some of my favorite Jordanian stamps in my collection. I started collecting Jordanian stamps about 3 years ago, and the first stamp that I bought was a stamp that I saw online. And the truth is I don't even remember how I came across it, but it was this stamp, and I saw it online on the computer searching one day, and I just thought it was so cool and really interesting, and I wanted to learn more about the description, any historical context or background about this stamp, because, one thing that stood out just looking at it with, no background knowledge, just at first glance, is, it is a Jordanian stamp, and it does have a picture of King Hussein in the top left of the stamp. And, what's fascinating is it shows a map of what is now Jordan on the East Bank and what was mandatory Palestine, Palestine under the British Mandate. It is now the state of Israel, which also includes the West Bank and Gaza Strip as the Palestinian territories. But, at first glance, when I saw this stamp, I thought initially that this was a projected vision of a greater Jordan in which the borders of Jordan on the East Bank expanded and encompassed what is all of Israel and Palestine. So after, further investigation, I discovered that, well, this stamp is actually the official title of this stamp is Arab Summit Conference, King Hussein, and a Map of Palestine in 1920. Now, this stamp was issued in 1964. So it's important to recall that at this time, in 1964, Jordan ruled the West Bank and Eastern Jerusalem. These are lands that Jordan had occupied and then subsequently annexed after the 1948 war. They conquered these territories after 1948, and in 1950, they formally annexed the central region of Mandatory Palestine, renaming it the West Bank to connote that this is land that lies west of the River Jordan, the West Bank, the East Bank, the River Jordan, which you can see here shaded as sort of a boundary or a demarcation line. But essentially, in 1964, the West Bank, East Jerusalem, already comprised an integral part of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. So this stamp was issued in 1964. It mentions Arab Summit Conference. Now, in 1964, the Arab League decided to establish the Palestine Liberation Organization as a representative body for the Palestinians to voice their aspirations. But once again, keeping in mind that at this time, there was no serious Palestinian movement that advocated for separation from the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The West Bank was under Jordanian sovereignty, and the Gaza Strip was actually under the control of Egypt. And I'm only mentioning that because the West Bank and Gaza today are lands that the Palestinians claim to be, that should constitute part of their future independent Palestinian state. But the West Bank was part of Jordan from 1948 to 1967, and the Gaza Strip was part of Egypt during that time as well. So I just thought that was very interesting. But when you look closer, and when it says in the Stanley Gibbons description, the Stanley Gibbons catalog, the description of the stamp references King Hussein and a Map of Palestine in the year 1920. So although it was issued in 1964, this map is actually a throwback to this geographical unit of Palestine and Jordan as it existed as one entity for a very brief period of time, about 6 months, give or take, under the British Mandate in the year 1920. Now, after 1920 and 1921, the British severed three-fourths of the original Palestine Mandate east of the Jordan River and designated that land as Transjordan. Transjordan was the name of Jordan before 1946. So this map actually has less to do with a Jordanian desire for a greater Jordan in which there is no Israel or Palestine, but rather more of a celebration or honoring of the original Palestine mandate back in 1920, which comprised both banks of the River Jordan and included what is now Israel, the West Bank, Gaza, as well as Jordan. Now, I've always been interested in modern political history of the Middle East and especially Jordan. And I should say that as an American, I have visited Jordan once. I took a family trip in the 1990s to Jordan, and that was when King Hussein was still the ruler of Jordan. He was the monarch. So I've always had some kind of fascination and interest in the country of Jordan, but it was really this stamp, this 1964 stamp series of Jordan that shows, it showcases the Arab Summit and has a map of Palestine as it existed under the British Mandate. Once I saw that, I was hooked and I wanted to buy it. I had to find this stamp. I had to buy it. And that really piqued my curiosity to start a stamp collection of Jordan. And ever since, again, starting back in about 2019, late 2019, early 2020, that's when I started my Jordanian stamp collection. And it has been my goal to try and collect as many Jordanian stamps as I can. I've been doing it, pretty seriously. I've chronicled them going back to 1920, 1921, and I've been trying to collect stamps from Jordan from every year that they've been issued. So if we take a look at my Jordanian stamp album, just to show you, the oldest Jordanian stamp that I have is from 1924. And this is a stamp. This is a really nice stamp. This is part of a series. This was issued in 1924, and it's called Stamps of Saudi Arabia Overprint. And the overprint inscription in Arabic reads Government of the Arab East. And it has the year 1342 in there. So keep in mind that in 1924, this was before Jordan gained independence. Transjordan had only been established as an emirate in 1921. So the Emirate of Transjordan, a very new country, it was not fully independent. There still was a large degree of British influence inside the country. And, Transjordan being a relatively, while a large country in size, in population, it was quite small. Roughly at this time in the early 20th century, there was perhaps 200,000 Arabic-speaking peoples, nomadic lifestyle, some semi-nomadic, city dwellers, but a very small population, majority Arabic-speaking, with a Muslim majority faith practicing, although there has been and remains to be an influential Christian minority inside the kingdom. But this is my oldest stamp of Transjordan of Jordan going back to 1924, and this is a really nice set. And the first Jordanian stamp that bears the image of its founder, Emir Abdullah, Emir or Prince Abdullah, who later became King Abdullah of Jordan. Abdullah was one of Sharif Hussein's sons. Sharif Hussein, the famous leader of the Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire during World War One. That was Sharif Hussein of the Hijaz, and he had several sons, and Abdullah was one of them that helped found the Emirate of Transjordan in 1921. So this is a really nice set issued in 1927 of Emir Abdullah, and you can see several really nice, colorful stamps showcasing the founder of Jordan. Another reason why I love collecting Jordanian stamps is because, I mean, I'm biased, and everyone I think is with the stamps that they collect, whether it's a particular country or theme, but I just think that Jordanian stamps are absolutely gorgeous. And more than that, you can really learn a lot about history, politics, and culture. So, just for example, as Transjordan, again, the precursor to Jordan in terms of names, same country, just a different name, in 1930, still a very young country, Transjordan was looking to promote tourism to the newly developed country. So there was a series in 1930 titled Tourism in Jordan. And this is a really beautiful set that showcases some of Jordan's most famous historical and cultural scenes inside the country. And one of my favorite, if you can see here, is the Treasury building at Petra. And I've actually had the privilege of visiting Petra in Jordan. It is a fascinating site of one of the ancient wonders of the world. It is a World Heritage Site today, and it was the ancient Nabateans who built Petra, the monument arched out of the mountains, and it is absolutely beautiful. And there's just some really nice cultural and historical monuments inside the country, you know, designed to help promote foreign tourism inside the country. I do like maps on stamps, and another really beautiful Jordanian postage stamp is issued in 1946, and it celebrates the national independence of Jordan. And if you look closely here, now this was issued in 1946, commemorating Transjordan's independence from the United Kingdom, the establishment of Jordan as an independent country. What's noteworthy about this stamp is you see a map of Jordan. And again, at this time, this was before Jordan controlled the West Bank and Eastern Jerusalem. So the geography is limited to territory east of the river. So we have a map of Jordan on the East Bank, and we see someone holding a torch to allude to liberty, you know, the freedom torch, liberty, freedom from British control. There is also a dove holding a wreath. So that's a peace dove symbolism to represent peace and prosperity in the newfound independent country of Jordan. So this is just a really nice series that I wanted to share with you. And to reiterate, after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, Jordan occupied and then later annexed or unified in Jordanian parlance the central region of Palestine and renamed it the West Bank, and Eastern Jerusalem, which includes the Old City and the holy sites. In 1949, Jordan issued a really beautiful set commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Universal Postal Union, the UPU. And if you can see here, really colorful images of the UPU with a globe, as well as modern forms of transportation. There's an airplane, there's a train, there's a steamboat. Really nice set here from 1949. And what's especially interesting is Jordan issued a regular set of stamps in 1949, but they also issued the same but as overprints with Palestine. And that was intended in the newly occupied territories that Jordan controlled in the West Bank, was to be used for the Palestinians in this region. So you can see it's the same stamp, but it was just overprinted with the Arabic and English inscription of Palestine. Another one of my favorite Jordanian stamps, and yes, it does have a map on that. I love stamps with maps on them. This is from 1952. It was issued in 1952 and it's titled The Unification of Jordan and Arab Palestine. Now, this stamp essentially is celebrating Jordan's annexation or unification of the West Bank and Eastern Jerusalem with the East Bank. And if you look closely on the map, what this stamp highlights is two very important religious and cultural symbols on both banks of the River Jordan. On the East Bank, we have the Treasury Building in Petra, and on the West Bank, we have the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. So the symbolism here is to portray the unity of the two banks, that the peoples on the West Bank and the East Bank are one people. They are unified and they are led under the new leadership of King Abdullah, the Hashemite king in Jordan. Now, tourism was and remains a pretty important theme in Jordan Philately. So in 1954, Jordan issued several stamps as part of a series to promote, again, foreign tourism inside the kingdom. And there's some really beautiful stamps here showing the Treasury building in Petra right here. There's a picture of the young King Hussein of Jordan, who came to power in 1953 after replacing his father, King Talal, who ruled briefly. King Hussein succeeded him in 1953 and ruled Jordan until 1999. But you can see here, in addition to, here's more of the Treasury building in Petra, here's another image of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, the third holiest site, Jerusalem, that is. It's really the Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest site, to be more precise, in Islam. But, the old city of Jerusalem was under Jordanian rule. So we see a lot of really beautiful images of the Dome of the Rock. There is Al-Aqsa Mosque right here next to the Dome of the Rock, if you can see that. So that we got the dome, we have Al-Aqsa, more images of King Hussein at the bottom. But this is just a really beautiful set to showcase and promote Jordanian tourism. And what's also kind of cool is the diversity of Jordanian stamps. If you can see sort of in the middle and the bottom, well, I'll even go slightly above, we have a variety of themes here from the 1960s, ranging from the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Here's 1964 issue. There's a set commemorating Jordanian Scouts, the Boy Scouts. That's really nice and interesting. And at the bottom here, I have a Russian cosmonaut series of various Soviet astronauts, which is kind of cool, just to show the variety. And if you look over here on the next page, there's more images of Soviet astronauts. But then there's also sort of celebration or commemoration of American presidential leaders. Here at the bottom in 1965, the first death anniversary of President Kennedy. So there's a wide variety in Jordanian philately, and I think that just adds to the richness and fun of the stamp collecting joy with Jordanian stamps. And just to highlight how colorful and rich Jordanian stamps are, if we kind of fast forward just a bit to the 1980s, thematically, a wide variety, a true mix of so many different cultural, historical, political, even themes that go on. There's one theme at the top that's dedicated to Royal Jordanian Radio Amateurs Society. King Hussein, I believe, was real into not only stamps. Interestingly enough, he did promote the stamp collecting hobby, but also he was an amateur radio enthusiast. And that's kind of cool and just something interesting to see how he is displayed alongside these stamps here. We have a World Communications Year to celebrate telecommunications and being connected to the world. Anniversary of Declaration of Human Rights, more stamps honoring the Palestine cause in the 1980s over here. A lot of colorful stamps. We can look at the top, anti-polio campaign. Here is a very colorful and vivid series of Israel's attack on Iraq's nuclear reactor in 1984. We have pictures of Hussein celebrating Jordan's independence and Army Day. So it's another way of also, helping Jordan craft as a new country its own national identity. So that's really, really interesting and nice here. Here's a series in the middle bottom section of coins, which is super interesting. And also a series promoting wildlife. This is titled The Release of the Arabian Oryx, the Antelope in Jordan. And there's also a set featuring Jordanian universities, as well as the tombs of the Muslim prophets. So a wide diversity of themes here. And if we jump ahead to the 1990s, one can't help but notice, but we see a lot of Jordanian stamps promoting and honoring their king, King Hussein, and that's a good thing, and that's natural. He was beloved by the majority of Jordanians. Here's one from 1993, the 40th anniversary of King Hussein's enthronement. And here is another one, the 1993 issue of King Hussein's recovery and homecoming as he was battling disease. There's one at the bottom, Jordan Hashemite Charity, which celebrates Jordanian humanitarian efforts across the globe. You can see more images of King Hussein here. This is from 1994, showing Hussein along Al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, the renovation of Al-Aqsa, and the Dome of the Rock. That's a really nice set here. And just, a lot of different various themes, once again, showcasing Jordan. Here's some really nice ones. This is Petra. That's a miniature sheet right there. This is called The Rose City, issued in 1995. This is the 50th anniversary of the Arab League, issued in 1995. And I like this one. This is the 60th birthday of King Hussein. So we see various portraits of King Hussein in the stamps. And that's really it. I just wanted to show, for those who are interested and who have asked me in the past, why do I collect Jordanian stamps? Because I will admit it might be somewhat unusual for an American to be so focused, obsessed, maybe, if you will. And I don't take that as a bad way, because I really do enjoy Jordanian stamps. I'm very passionate about it. But it really is a mix of reasons, from just personal interest in the country, fascinated by Jordanian history and culture, but also just seeing that one particular stamp from 1964, seeing the map, and wanting to learn more about not only Jordanian history and politics, but how Jordan, through stamps, has attempted to cultivate political messages, identity issues, and really crafting a narrative to bolster and support the Hashemite rule in Jordan and to strengthen the unity of the Jordanian people. So that's it. That's my backstory for why I collect Jordanian stamps. I hope you liked this video. If you found it interesting, the best way you can support this channel is please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. It really goes a long way in helping me grow the channel. Please share the video with friends and family if you think that they will find it interesting. And until next time, happy stamping.